everyone, it's Charisma with Keeping It Real, Cooking with Charisma. Welcome back to my live dinner with the Olsons. Just a reason for me to put on makeup and do my hair personally, and just a reason to get off the couch and do something. So anyway, many of you are like me, and you took advantage of the community, or the CNC Produce has been doing their community box with their produce, and selling them for like $20. And then you get this box of produce, and it's all amazing stuff. So we're supporting the community, and we're getting all this produce, and most of it's really, really good stuff. It's probably all really, really good stuff. I haven't tried everything yet. I just got it yesterday. But everybody gets a leek. You get a leek and a rutabaga. There are two things in there that everybody's like, what the hell am I going to do with a leek and a rutabaga? Well, I'll tell you what, my rutabaga found its way to the bottom of my trash can. Sorry. I'm just being honest with you. And so I had a friend that she said she made potato and leek soup and then posted today that it was delish. So I was like, well, I don't even know how to cut up a leek. What parts do you use? I mean, this is a leek, who knows? What do you do with a leek? So I did what all smart people do, and they go to YouTube, right? So I learned how to prepare and cut up a leek. And so anyway, and I found a different recipe because I was like, well, potato and leek soup doesn't really sound good. Hey, Holly, I'm glad you can watch me as I'm like discovering leeks. Anyway, so I was doing a search for potato soup with leeks and different things like that. And I found a really popular one. Of course, it's Guy Fieri's loaded baked potato soup. It doesn't have leeks in it, though. So I was like, okay. So I printed off his recipe, and then I went back to my friend's recipe, and I'm like, well, I'll just add the leeks, and we'll see if anybody even notices. And, of course, I'm like, okay, so for her recipe, I had everything I needed. Then I'm, like, sitting down. This is, like, 4:30. I'm like, okay, let me just make sure I have everything, because then I still have some other things that I have to make tonight, so I'm just going to be, like, chef towel all night long. You don't have to watch me. But anyway, so I was like, just checking my recipes. I'm like, holy cow, we've gone through all our cheese. So I'm like, I don't have cheese. This recipe calls for 6 cups of milk. Well, we have 6 maybe drops of milk left in the milk container. So I was like, well, we don't have milk. We're out of cheese, which are staples in our house, except for the milk, because nobody's drinking milk until all of a sudden we're in a pandemic, and of course everybody's eating cereal all day long. Don't ask. So we're out of milk. Anyway, if it was up to me, we'd never have milk in the house. Well, I don't even like milk. But anyway, so I'm like, we've got bacon, we've got flour, all this. And I needed a couple other things for my other, recipes. So I'm like, hey, Bella, will you go to the grocery store? No. All right, well, I'm going to run to the grocery store. So I did anyway, and I made it back. And then I was like, okay, so Guy's recipe, get this. Total time, 1 hour and 15 minutes. Well, heck, you know me, I'm always slower than slow when I'm doing this anyway, because I sit here and chit chat with you. I'm like, well, that's not going to work either. Prep time, 20 minutes, my butt. We have to make baked potatoes. So the first thing he says is, place potatoes on roasting tray and bake in the oven for 45 minutes. Hello? Not going to happen. I threw those suckers in the microwave, so I've got my baked potatoes ready to go. And then it's sliced bacon into lardons. What is a lardon? It's a thin strip, by the way. And cook in a large, heavy bottom pot. I'm like, I am not cooking bacon on the stove. But it does want you to save the drippings, because we're going to make a roux. Which, thank you, Kathy. I can make a roux. I've got faith in myself. I'm going to make this roux. But I also have, so I had the potatoes nuking in the microwave, and I've got the bacon baking in the oven, and so I can share with you the leeks. So the bacon's still cooking. I think it has about 3 minutes left, which is really going to be sorry. Woo! Start. Where's the start? Okay. Sorry, I had to reset that. I just checked it and said it had 3 minutes left. Yeah, it's raw as raw can be, so I just upped that to 10 minutes. Remind me to check on it, though, because I'm notorious for burning the bread. so I can see how bacon in the oven would be similar to bread, and I might burn it. So back to the leek. First thing, get out your big knife. If you see stuff on this, it's just because I cut the butter a minute ago. You don't need any of this stuff. So you're using the light green. Okay, so yeah, we're using the light green. And you don't need the end because we're not going to use the furry stuff, right? So you cut your ends off and you just throw that away. So now we're to this part. A leek kind of smells oniony. I'm going to peel the first layer off just because you know how you peel off that first layer of the onion because sometimes it looks kind of, yeah. So, okay, the what I watched today, they did it in little half moons. So that's what we're going to do because it's kind of a lot. So we're just going to cut that in half lengthwise. So now we've got, voila. And now, and they tell you hold your fingers in, do this, that, but you know, just watch your fingers so you don't cut your fingers off. And then we're just going to thinly slice this because we know, I don't know how big of a fan people are going to be of leeks, especially in our potato soup. And maybe we don't want big chunks of leeks in it. And I don't know, how much does it cook down when you cook it, right? So, anyway, there we go. So I'm just cutting this, maybe 1/8 of a thick, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch. But you can see it. Oh, I think you can see it. See how I cut it all up? Now the key is, because I guess a lot of dirt gets down in between all those layers, you need to do this. This is going to be a key thing. So I've got my strainer out. I'm not going to use the strainer, but I did fill this sucker with water. So we just want to take this, and you want to put your leeks in a bowl of water, so you don't have to have your strainer in there. Put your leeks in there, and you want to splash them around a little bit. So we're giving them a good little rinsey rinse, right? And while those are getting a little water bath, I'm just going to wipe off, probably should rinse it off, but I'm just going to wipe off my cutting board of any ick. And we're just going to now take our leeks out of the water bath. And I'm not using my colander here because all of that dirt's supposed to float down to the bottom. So when you pull your colander up, what am I doing? I'm just lifting all that dirt up. Or if I were to dump it out, I'm just transferring all that dirt back to the top. So I just want to make sure that all my dirt from these bad boys sinks down to the bottom. Then I'm just going to pat these guys dry with a paper towel, and we're going to saute them in 2 tablespoons of butter. Hey, Bernadette! I love that name. That's such a fun name to say, Bernadette, isn't it? And people say, well, one day, going through one of the drive-throughs somewhere, somebody, I think it was like McDonald's or something, and the gal goes, oh my gosh, you remind me of that girl. You know the one? I'm like, what? She goes, you know, from that show with Sheldon, you know? And I'm like, oh, yeah. And I'm thinking, of course, I must remind her of the beautiful blonde. Nope, Bernadette. I'm like, alrighty then. I'm sure it was the glasses. So, anyway, I still love the name. And I took it as a compliment because she's famous. So I'm just going to pat those dry.